Quads back with another video. Today we're looking at how and why we would upgrade to the new Cadex firmware version 37.42.7, available at walksnail.app/37.42.7. The link will be down in the description below and on the screen now. Now, officially, if we look at what's new, we've got bug fixes for weak signal, which is something that I've been particularly struggling with. Add brightness to adjustment function in CVBS mode and add contrast function in CVBS mode. CVBS mode is basically where you would insert a analog receiver module into the goggles and receive analog from your analog quads whilst using these digital goggles. Some people have been having real problems with it, whereby it's actually been given a fake sort of snowy screen before the signal is actually lost, causing real problems for analog pilots. Today I'm just going to go through the update process and have a look at what's changed from the digital point of view before I dive into the analog another day. However, I'm also updating from 37.42.4, which means I'm also going to get the 0.5, which is fix a function of not deleting upgrade package, repair the problem of menu misalignment, add anti-flicker function, add real-time parameter information of cam in debug mode, kernel alarm at 85 and stop recording at 95, and change the original ground menu zoom function to debug mode. There's a lot of updates there, and I think a lot of it is very incremental. We are really waiting for a big sort of firmware update from Cadex to really smash some of these features out of the park. But I figured I've not got an update video on the channel, so it seemed like a good chance to do one. So if we go to the webpage, we can see it says downloads goggles V1, VTX, Recon HD, VRX, Goggles X and Moonlight. So it's as simple as that really. If you can see the little symbols on the website, so if you've got a normal VTX, whether it be the Walksnail Pro or the Walksnail Mini or whatever, select that. If you've got the Goggles 1, select that. If you've got the Recon goggles, the more boxy goggles, select those. If you're running a VRX, so like a module on a different pair of goggles to receive these, you would select that. And the Goggles X, obviously for the Goggles X, and the Moonlight for the new Moonlight VTX. Today I'm going to focus on just the Goggles X, the VTX, and the Moonlight from an update point of view. I can do a video on the VRX if you need one, and the Recon HD if you need one. I don't have a set of goggles V1. Cadex, if you want to send me one, you're more than welcome. I'm not sure why you would, but hey, I'll throw it out there anyway. So this page shows no information on how to actually update the firmware, so I'm going to run through it very quickly. So you download the package you want and it gives you a image file. An image as in a computer image, not a picture file, for those who are a little bit less computer savvy. And I'm gonna walk through this in as basic a way as I possibly can. So I selected the Goggles X, the Moonlight and the VTX, and I've downloaded 3 different files. So first of all, we'll plug in the VTX. Now for that, you need this adapter here. Please don't lose either of these 2 adapters if you've got a Cadex, either VTX or Moonlight. Without it, you cannot update your firmware. It's a really, really bad design, Cadex, and I had hoped with the Moonlight we would have done away with all this and we would have just used the SD card. But even on the Moonlight, you need the smaller of these 2 cables to bridge the ports together. Otherwise, again, you can't update. It is a really, really bad design, and coming from something like the DJI 03, where you can just plug in a USB and away you go, it's such a bad design. It really, really is, Cadex. But we pay a little bit less money and we get a little bit less functionality. That's the way it goes. So I understand that design compromises have to be made. That's not the video. This is not the video for that, though. Let's carry on. So all you do, very, very simple. The file that you've downloaded for the VTX will display on your PC as avatar_sky and then the version number, which is 37.42.7.img in this particular instance. This is the same no matter which version you're updating to. So what you do is you take this adapter, you plug it into your VTX, you power your quad on, and then you plug your USB cable into this adapter. It then brings up a USB drive essentially on your PC, and all you do is just copy over avatar_sky directly into that, not into any folder or anything like that, just directly into there. Once you've done that, unplug it and reboot your quad. When your quad boots up, wait for the lights to start flashing green and then hold down the bind button for 8 seconds. The lights will then change colour, it'll start flashing red, it'll start doing all weird sort of stuff. Do nothing until it starts flashing green in exactly the same sequence again, and then you have updated your VTX. Similar for the Moonlight, except we take the SD card out and we place avatar Moonlight_Sky on that SD card, and then we bridge the 2 pads with this tiny wee cable that I've lost about 6 times since owning this. Power it up, and again do the same thing. Hold the bind button down for 8 seconds, wait for it to start flashing green. You've updated. If you wanted to check, you can plug in the USB and have a look, and it writes a file saying what version number it is, just to double check, and it's as easy as that. Then we move on to the goggles. Again, really easy. Get the memory card, put the memory card in your PC, copy over avatar, well, in this particular instance, sorry, it's avatar X_ground, because this firmware is staying on the ground in your goggles. Put that on the root file of your, and for anybody that doesn't know what root folder means, basically when you open up the folder of the memory card, it goes straight in there. It doesn't go in a folder, it doesn't go in anything else, it just goes straight in there. Put it back in your goggles, turn your goggles on. Once your goggles are fully powered on, hold down the bind button for 10 seconds and it'll start making some weird beeping noises. And I've got a little bit of a screen here that if we actually look in the goggles, you can see it says updating and gives you a percentage of how much is updated. Really important that you don't knock the power cable, because if you was to disconnect the power halfway through this, you're going to have problems potentially bricking your goggles. Again, once that's done, simple as that. Excuse my batteries, they're just charged. Then power on your quad, reboot your goggles and rebind everything, and you're ready to go. And it's as easy as that. So it's really straightforward, but there are no instructions here. So I hope that that's helped. And obviously we'll have a look at some of the firmware. Now, just on screen now is the update kit for the heatsink for the Cadex Goggles X. Lots of people have been having issues with them overheating. I personally haven't had that issue, and I've seen a lot of people who have updated it have nothing but problems with the signal since they've actually updated it. So, since they've replaced it, should I say. So at this stage, at this moment in time, I have the heatsink for both mine and my son's goggles, and it will stay that way. I'm not going to upgrade or whatever you want to call it. For some reason, I've forgotten the ability to use speech as a form of communication. Then that was very bizarre. Yeah, so I'm not gonna add this new heatsink just yet. We've had no issues with overheating, either one of us, but we have seen people have real issues with signal issues once they have updated this. So I'm going to stay where we are. It's still really cold in the UK, so it shouldn't be a problem for a couple of months at the very least. And then obviously once warmer weather comes, if we start having issues, we'll have a look around and see what the situation is with this heatsink. I do know that it does drastically reduce the temperature within the goggles, but I'm more concerned about the signal issues. I have personally a notable difference just flying around my practice tree between this and the O3, and by a notable difference, I actually get signal warnings around the border just at this tree, whereas with the O3 or even the Cadex Vista, to be fair, I can throw it around this tree without any problems. Now that's both the Walksnail Pro and the Moonlight. So it is entirely possible that it's firmware related, or it's entirely possible that it's a settings related, because I do know that when people fly sort of 400 foot high, certainly in America, or certainly, I don't know people that have done it, but I know that people online have certainly flown for miles and miles and miles without a signal issue. So why I'm getting a signal issue sort of 50, 60 meters away, I don't know. But I'm getting it on all of the Walksnail quads, so it could be a firmware issue, it could be a setting issue. But what we'll do is we'll dive to the field and we'll have a look at some of the DVR from the VTX. I don't know if the Moonlight actually provides DVR, it may just be on the goggles, but we'll have a look at both goggles and the VTX and we'll see what updates it's brought.